and noted exactly what they had, that they thought should be corrected, and it's different than what Beth has handed out.
If it's more detailed, I think that'd be more useful to us. Myself.
Oh, okay. Well, so I think we can look at what Beth had handed out, but I just want to be able to say this was also addressed. This was addressed. Okay. Now, one of the questions I have is who owns the right-of-ways or the alleys?
Village.
The village owns
The alley.
The alleys. Okay.
And you'll see how wide they are, and I gave you a map to
So
show
why
how
are
wide
they
they
not
are.
the village property? I need some in there.
Is that where it says?
No, it's not a bigger one.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. The streets are generally 70 feet wide except for Main Street, which is this street, and Chestnut, which is the street by your house, well, by the Christian church and by your house. Those are each 80 feet wide. The alleys are 16 feet wide.
Who's responsible for maintaining the alleys?
The adjoining property owners.
That's what section 1 is, the ordinance on section 1.
Okay. Discussion.
Do you want to read what the,
Was there some things on that, in that section that we had more detail on?
I know,
or-
that clarified.
Okay.
I think that was one of them. Yeah.
So, I mean, was that statement was what was wanting to be changed? Is that?
Are we on section 2 or section 1?
Section 2.
Section 2.
Okay.
In a violation of what ordinance? I don't understand what that's referring to. The entire property maintenance ordinance?
Is that referring to
Yeah,
section
this
1?
ordinance.
Or
Could we be
section
more
1?
specific there? Specific?
I mean, it just says a violation of any provision of this ordinance is declared to be a public nuisance, so.
Could we just say of section 1?
no, anything within that is property maintenance sections. That's repeat this.
That refers to the whole property maintenance section?
It's saying that anything that's am I right, anything that's in violation of this ordinance is
Okay,
declared a public nuisance, right?
Okay, so this referring to section 1 or the whole
The
section?
whole ordinance.
Okay.
Section,
Just like in section 3, the definitions refer to everything in the whole.
Through the
so
whole
that would be
ordinance.
section 1 through 8 then.
Correct.
Okay, well, I'm sure that that ordinance right there will be a problem. That section will be a problem. At this point. And maybe it needs to come at the end,
It won't matter where it comes.
after all the issues with personal property is decided, rather than at the beginning,
Well, after it's decided, I mean, it's still, doesn't matter where you place it, that's still gonna be what, unless we change it, it's gonna be what that is. Now, you know, we're not doing it,
Just clarification.
only enforcement we're doing, I think we've said, is when someone complains, when we get a complaint. And so it's not like someone's gonna be cruising around looking for, you know, major things, but if someone complains, brings the complaint down, goes through that whole process. And, you know, the first step of that is to having someone trying to help them, if you need some assistance, are you aware of it? It's the, you know, help, not the hammer.
Well, I still think it's worded badly. I think it needs to be clarified, and that's my,
What could be more clear than that? Tell me the words.
Well, because you're not addressing, I mean, what here, what are you
We're talking
addressing?
Okay, I think we're just, the board's talking about this, I think. So,
prosecution accordingly,
Okay,
subject
so
to abatement. I think the word "this" is vague and general. Because I personally thought it was referring to section 1.
I mean, it's my understanding that what it's just saying is that any violation through the whole, of the, you know, if you're in violation of anything in this whole ordinance, that is considered a public nuisance. And you're subject to our procedures that we have put in place.
I think it's clear that's what it says, but I think you're saying you don't like what it says.
Exactly.
Well, then you would say that. Instead of hemming and hawing around.
Okay, I don't like what it, I
Okay.
have, I said it's vague, and I don't like what it says.
Well, you haven't said that. So what would you like it to say? None of this matters?
No.
Okay.
Okay, clarification then, that this would then, could say, off the top of my head, I will, and this is off the top of my head, okay, any violation of provisions of these property maintenance ordinances, to make it more specific, is hereby declared a public nuisance and is subject to abatement and prosecution accordingly.
You don't like the word prosecution.
Yeah, that's one of them.
What would you put in place of that?
Kidnapping. Robbery, kidnapping.
Madam Chairman?
Oh. Yes.
I just think what I heard Lori saying, it's just like, how can you approve that one, not saying it matters where it goes, until you approve section 5A or any of these others that then you're going to have to, I mean, I guess you could do that first, but it's like if any of these ordinances, and then if you change the others, then that negates them from that one. That's my question, I suppose.
This is an overall, these are the sort of general provisions relating to property management, maintenance, property maintenance. And so, you know, to put property management in there before the word ordinance is just redundant, because this whole, it's only talking about property maintenance. This ordinance, this is the property maintenance ordinance. So that's the, you know, that's what I'm not going to die on. But, and if we change things at 5.1 or whatever, you know, sections below, and if whatever we change and it's adopted, then it's going to apply to whatever is in this ordinance. Whether it's there now and we adopt it, or whether we make changes and then adopt it. It's going to affect everything in the property management. Maintenance. I like to say management, so property maintenance.
There you go.
So
Manage my property.
it doesn't matter if you put it at the beginning or the end. So maybe we ought to talk about some of the specific things that are
Okay.
I think that would be a good
Okay.
idea. I think that will probably clarify.
okay. Good.
Since the copy that I have doesn't have anything else in red as far as the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got my
Yeah,
break when I'm looking at
Okay.
that.
What happened to all these
So,
tenants?
so the one I have, I think came from Steve and Diane, and maybe you have more information. We ought to go with what you have.
I think that there was a referral of the word debris that was related to number 1 in section 4.
the definition of debris, which is in section
Section
3.
3, number 2.
It's a definition,
Uh-huh.
right. And it was related to, for no person owning, leasing, occupying, or having a change of any premises in the village shall keep or permit upon such premises or upon alley, right-of-way, or ditch, and once again, it was a violation of personal property. Because how can the board determine what is debris on somebody's personal property?
No, the definition, I'm just responding to that, I'm not arguing about any
Okay.
of this. I'm not
I
anyway.
understand.
So if they're under 2, under definition, that it says that the debris includes, and it also says but not limited to, and maybe that's the problem that you're having, but it's rubbish, trash, garbage, metal, cans, wire, glass, rocks, bricks, ash, I mean, you can read those, broken furniture.
Right.
Unsightly or discarded material of any nature or substance whatsoever. So that's in 4 when it says, if there's debris that's creating a health or safety or fire hazard that's so disorderly to constitute an eyesore in view of residents or from any street, I mean, that gives it more specific when you get down there.
But once again, it's telling a person what they can have on their personal property.
Like machinery parts, like tractor implements, is an ordinance violation.
Or soot from my stove. Discarded material of any nature or substance. Who determines that? Maybe I'm going to build a.
Well, if you have something and someone complains about it, the complaint committee says, what's the deal with this? Do you really need these, do you really want this here? This is part of your plan? Or do you need help removing it because it's not part of your plan?
And the day that Vance says that to me, but I shouldn't be prosecuted criminally for having something there.
Or subject.
Or subject.
Even subject to prosecution.
I have stuff on my yard. I do have stuff that is unsightly in places.
If debris is referring to alleys and roads, then it's a legitimate. But when it's referring to personal property, it's a violation.
Yes.
Now, I may not like it, you may not like it, but they have a right to do that. And that's what, I think that's what the citizens of Jameson are the most concerned about, is their rights of private property. Which is kind of led into the dog issue, the wild animal issue. Those were all connected to this thing on private property. Now, you brought up a very good point. We have a private property that is, and I think it was presented that perhaps the ordinance should read out of town people. But you're saying, it has to be across the board. I don't know, that was just an alternative, that was a double standard.
Could be like
I mean,
abandoned
You see that as
properties.
a double standard.
You can't say that these laws only apply to people who own property but don't live here, and the people that live here can do whatever they want.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Do you think it would be possible for the panel to come up with some alternatives? Maybe a letter writing campaign, and I'm just saying this off the top of my head.
I have a question to that.
That property.
With that property, that happens, right?
Uh-huh.
And you see where we're at.
Couldn't you classify certain properties as abandoned if there's not been any activity on them for like a year? Then classify them as abandoned and then proceed with.
So property, so using the logic that I heard you saying is that those are property rights, they have an expiration time, 1 year, so. And all bets are off.
Well, what I'm saying is that if a property's been abandoned and they're not doing any maintenance on it, then the city could do the maintenance and send them a bill for abandoned properties.
That's what I thought they used to do. That's what I was told. Like the Fords, every year before the picnic, they owned that place up there, and the city mowed it and sent Virginia Wall a bill.
I'm
don't
not
know
aware
about
about bills
that.
being
I'm,
sent,
yeah,
but
I'm not either.
I do. I was
I know.
there. That's what they told me. I mean,
I don't know.
where corporations send somebody a bill. If they don't pay it, take them to collections.
Well,
But we can't do any of that unless we have rules saying that they're violating. I mean,
No, you mow their lawn and you charge them for the service, I think is what they did in the past. I'm not
not if they
saying,
didn't ask for it. I mean, how can I send you a bill for doing a service you didn't
Cities
ask
do
for?
that all the time. I've owned rental
But they have
properties
ordinances.
all
They have
over
ordinances.
Kansas.
they have ordinances that
But-
are stating that
There are
these are the
rules that say
rules
we-
and
that
that
it's
this is
available.
what you have to do.
that
and
might
if
be
you
an
don't do
alternative,
that-
what you just asked
then-
for, an alternative.
Okay.
Then, give them notice you're gonna mow the yard by the 1st of August. If they don't, by the picnic, if they don't take care of it themselves, and that you will be sending them a bill.
Well, I think there again, that particular property that I was talking about earlier, they have been contacted, they have been sent photos, they have been told, you need to clean this up, and we keep getting ignored.
And they've had offers to buy it.
Yes,
3 offers
that's
to buy
right.
it.
There has been offers to buy it, so we really don't know where to go next unless we have help this.
My understanding is that it's tied up in the bank. Am I
have no clue.
I don't know. My understanding is it's tied up in the bank.
But we only have one.
And,
It's not just the one.
It's like a foreclosure or something.
Right.
I'm not sure what the details are. Have they ignored all,
To my knowledge, yes.
I mean, I
Is
know
the
letters
bank-
went to them at least 2 or 3 years ago
is the
saying,
bank paying the property tax?
No,
no, they're paying it.
They are paying it. Well,
Can garnish their wages for mowing their lawn. Oh, their welfare check.
Well, you-
Sorry.
Well, that is an alternative.
Well, it sounds like folks are interested in getting some property cleaned up, using that example. And so the way to do that then is the process. And I think Natalie said, we can't do that. We can't have an expectation that has to be met unless it's an official
Unless it's-
expectation. And that is done by the method of ordinances. And so that's.
We're still making money.
So can you have like Lucille write up an abandoned property ordinance?
Wait a minute, it seems to me like it's a moot issue. So that house is what, it's detracted from the town?
That's where our
Well,
property
is that-
values
is
went
that
down.
your,
Dangerous.
Is that your,
Well, not only, yeah, it does look bad, but not only that, I think it could, possibly be a place where rats and varmints that you don't want can start moving into. I think it can become
Like
a
the-
health hazard.
Like the
does
tubes
county
down
have
there?
does the
Like
county
what?
have-
The tubes that are over there, those like attract all kinds of rodents and snakes.
The tubes that
The city tube,
city
yeah.
has.
No, that means, that's
The township.
That's the township.
We got one down here, yeah.
But,
Money,
I mean,
ching.
the potential is there. That's what the gentleman was asking me today, who lives in Pennsylvania.
I seen a dead rat the other day. That's the first rat I ever seen in this town,
Where am I?
down by Alvin Cogville. I never seen a rat here before.
So that is
Report.
We're not to the road report yet.
How big was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have an issue with property versus abandoned properties, or people who are standing in their property rights and saying, I don't care. I'm going to do it the way, my property is going to look the way I decide it's going to look.
And
Now,
what
my
was the
question-
question? I heard that part, but was it a question at the start? You're,
Do we have a
Now would be the time to hand this out.
opposing
what are
issues?
you?
Could I have you read this scripture?
What
I mean,
are
this-
the county? Is this a
Can't read
county
it all.
issue?
Which-
Can this
is
be
that
a
one?
county issue?
It's
As
my
I understand, the
understanding that
county
it
does
can't be.
not have
Because it's a municipality.
issues with property. the county does not have.
Well, that's
personal
not
property.
always, that's not all true, because roadsides do have to be maintained, mowed. Trees that go like this, those need to
Okay,
be,
so
you know,
what's
so
the, outcome of the county, do you know? I don't know, that's
the
what I'm
county,
asking.
the
Lucille, do
county,
you have, I mean, do you have any knowledge of,
I'm not entirely certain what's being asked.
How
Does the
so-
county-
So if I don't cut my brush along the side of the road, what do they do about it?
Yeah.
They warn me and
So
then.
this is on, a county, state road, number
Township
one.
road. You mean the.
are you talking about this house down here? Is that what you're
Isn't
talking
that
about?
the one you're
no, she's
talking
just
about?
talking about,
In
well, I
general.
thought maybe you were talking in general now as far as county. And,
Well, I kinda am.
yeah, so, and of course, county is different than the house that's in the village. But yes, county does require you to keep roadsides clean along your property.
And what is the consequence if you don't do it?
If you do not do
They'll come and
that,
do it for you?
yes, and then they
They
will
charge you.
send you the
They
bill,
send
they
you a
will put it
bill.
on your taxes.
There you go, make an ordinance.
Well, we don't have to,
So why can't we let the county handle that?
because we're municipal.
Because we're a municipality and it's inside the village
County
limits.
is outside.
The county is outside
But
the
if it's,
village.
it's, number one, it's a state road.
This down here we're talking about.
Right.
And
What's the state consequence? They don't have one? We don't
I
know.
think that's not, I
And
mean,
that's okay if you
I
don't
understand
know.
that it's mute because it's inside the village limits and so it's under the village.
the only thing the state would have to do would be the right of way, whether it's mowed or not, I guess. But they come through and mow it once a year,
Once a year.
so I don't think the state would have any standing or any,
Okay, so that's great.
right.
Yeah, as far as the yard or the.
The question
No, they
seems
aren't.
to be who has jurisdiction. And within the boundaries of a municipality, the municipality has jurisdiction. The county has their own set of ordinances and requirements that apply on county property outside the jurisdiction of municipalities.
That's that.
Within the
I was asking.
municipality, it's the municipality.
Okay, what's next?
So.
Well, I have to say that every one of those issues of section 4 are all personal property issues. And also with section 5. And especially, I think the one with section 5 is the one that got most people upset because for the town to dictate 8 inches was, they felt like that was dictatorial.
Yes.
But at the same time, can you see that we have to have some measurement? I mean, to say, okay, it's too high, it needs to be mowed. I mean, there has to be
Why?
something.
Why do you care how long my grass is?
Because if this house on the corner, if my significant other wasn't mowing it, it would be 10 foot tall.
But why do you treat
And-
people differently? That you said earlier that you couldn't treat people differently, but you're allowing some people to have tall grass for pasture, and others they have to cut their grass because they don't have pasture. It's all within the same city limits.
Yes, because in this ordinance
So
it
you're-
says on vacant land used for hay.
But that's an example of treating people differently. Even though Mary can have tall grass across from my house, but I can't have tall grass at my house.
And because I didn't bail it
Because it's
this year,
being used for grazing livestock or for haying or naturally forested vacant land.
So couldn't you make an exception or specify the ordinance to apply to people that are out of town that have abandoned properties instead of those property owners that are in town? Treat them differently in the same way that Mary and I are treated differently with the length of our grass.
Well, I think in the ordinance that you're talking about, the people are being treated the same if they are using it for grazing livestock. Everybody grazing livestock has the same rules.
Yeah, but she has property right across the street from my property. She can have tall grass. I can't.
Because
Because she's using it for,
Because we have an ordinance is
Because-
why.
Well,
Be-
are you-
yeah,
are
because you
looking at
speci-
your horses?
But everyone that lives
You know-
in town would be treated the same if you differentiated between like the people that don't live here. Because the people that live in town can take care of their own stuff, while the people out of town are more likely to be like, oh well,
I'm
I
not
don't
there.
see it, so I don't care.
And Jan asked me a question. It's like this ordinance here on my vacant lot used for hay. Yes, I may cut that for hay, but like given this year, it may not be hay, and in fact, it may be chewed up. My horses may not even eat it. So then if I actually don't once a year, I've got to mow it, cut it. I do it anyway, but I'd be under violation of this because I don't put hay up on it this year. So we need an exception for if it rains all year long and you can't put a bit hay up, then you don't get violated for that, or
Maybe I could fence in my yard and you could put your horses there
I'd
for a
love
day.
to.
It seems to me, when we discuss
And then I wouldn't have to
this
cut
being
my
on personal
grass.
property, I remember somebody in the Citizens
Oh,
saying, why are we forcing people,
I understand.
or not forcing, I don't know what it is, why are we expecting people on virgin land to have their grass 8 inches tall when it's brush and trees and there's no building there, it's just virgin land? And I think the consensus of the group was, we don't mind vacant land having trees and brushes and you know, why are we requiring them to go in there and clean that land up when nobody's using it? And then the other thing that was brought up too is, why are we requiring people to bale and roll and store at least once a year when it's personal property again? Why are we requiring people to do stuff on their personal property? It's not, I just feel like it's not the board's business to require that.
I guess I haven't written a dissertation on this, but I think it's because we're a community. We're not living out in the county where you're far away from your neighbors. You can choose to live, and that's where you are not they don't have expectations like we're outlining in here. We was a community that wants to, if we do, and then we get to decide that, we want to have a standard that, which is what these are, the same as it has to be rolled and baled or whatever it is. It's a standard, and you're not going to, I don't think it's appropriate to have a junk laying around. And I think we can do considerably, but I think it's a positive when we say it's a lines and complaints. So if my neighbors have what this ordinance would define as junk in their yard, and nobody brings it to their attention that it's bothering, well then they can have junk in their yard. If I can have junk in my yard, or whatever it is, or I cannot, any of us cannot do whatever something that pertains to us unless somebody complains about it. And then it's okay, well, this is an issue, and so let's see if we can help figure this out. Maybe they're unaware, maybe they, and then if they say, well, this is my personal property, I want to do this, then we have this to fall back on. It's sort of a community standard like this, and they're leveling so that it's clear what the expectations are. Come here, we expect you to take care of your house.
I think that's a very reasonable argument that is absolutely against the Constitution. And it is.
And it is.
It's a very reasonable argument.
Well,
Beth?
the reason that I question whether it's against the Constitution, and I'm the lawyer, is that we're not inventing a wheel here. It's going on all over the country. And so if it's against the Constitution, it would have been applied to everyone, all the entities, all the municipalities and cities and counties. And
I don't think that people know. I think they're asleep.
No, the government does unconstitutional stuff all the time. So saying, well, the government does unconstitutional stuff, so we can do it.